Hi, welcome back. So I just quit Honkai Star Rail, and before any Hoyo shall write a hate comment, this video is mostly not about Star Rail. Today I want to talk about something else entirely, but something that still relates to me quitting Star Rail. Now, I wouldn't really consider myself a gacha gamer, at least not yet. I've only ever played 3 gacha games for a significant amount of time, which are Battle Cats, Genshin, and Star Rail, and I'm currently trying out Limbus Company, but after creating videos about a gacha game for 2 years, I would say I've got some credibility to talk about the following subject, especially because 2 out of those 3 gacha games brought me a lot of disappointment, and it's definitely not a coincidence they're made by Hoyoverse. You probably wouldn't be surprised if I told you I quit all of these 3 games, but if you've never played Battle Cats, you may be surprised to hear that I wholeheartedly recommend the shit out of that game. Meanwhile, I wouldn't recommend you touch either Genshin or Star Rail or anything Hoyoverse related with a 20-foot pole. But I quit Battle Cats. Why would I recommend it? Well, it all boils down to fulfillment. I think this is one thing a lot of people overlook when playing a gacha game, especially because most gacha gamers have a love-hate relationship with any gacha game that they play. This video isn't going to be about any specific gacha game, just gacha in general, so I'm not really going to talk about Battle Cats specifically, but what really inspired me to make this video was my friend Fleur making a video about Ark Knights being such a game that he recommends highly despite quitting. So what makes a gacha game fulfilling, and why would someone enjoy a gacha game so much and recommend it so honestly, meanwhile they don't even play it anymore? Let's talk about it. Before we start though, you should make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and join the Express Friend Discord server for a fun and lovely community to hang out with, as well as free pussy pics from me personally. Now let's get on to it. So first things first, what do I mean by a fulfilling gacha game? Well, it's a game that after playing for a while, you feel that you've completed everything in, and don't really have a current future goal. You may have completed all endgame content and don't see yourself struggling at all, unless the devs do some stupid HP inflation bullshit. You may have completed all achievements, fully built your favorite characters, or simply just have an account that won't really feel properly rewarded after completing a very challenging level. If you feel all of that, you probably won't play the game much, but you also most likely won't have any negative feelings about the game at all, because it's still fun, you just completed it all. As I'm going to mention later, it's not a prerequisite for a game's success whatsoever, it's just a fun little topic that I think isn't discussed enough in gacha games, or gaming in general. I think quitting a game should always be satisfying and fulfilling, never disheartening and disappointing. Now let's talk about Battle Cats a bit first. It's a game where you click on cats in your hotbar to unleash them upon the evils of the world in order to conquer the world, I guess. There's a normal cat, a muscle cat, a titan cat, a sexy legs cat, a sexy legs cat with panties, a cat that is made to go perfectly with sexy legs cat, characters that aren't even cats, probably, as well as characters from Fate. Battle Cats is the Fate collab way before Star Rail. It doesn't really have an immersive story, but it does have some of the most well-executed gameplay for how simple the concept is. You're encouraged to not only use almost every single unit you come across, including almost all of the standard units, but also to use every single niche available in the game, and it's incredibly easy to do so. There are cats effective against red enemies, metal enemies, alien enemies, black enemies, white enemies, but last time I checked there were no Asian enemies. The endgame content is incredibly fun and refreshes frequently with a lot of rewards for your effort that give you evolutions to all of your units and even brand new units, all for completely free. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about Battle Cats, it's a really good game. It's so good that while writing this script I just had to reinstall it and play it again on a new fresh account, but when I quit it, I did so not only because I didn't really have time anymore, but because I already did everything I wanted to do in the game. Beat the first couple of campaigns, beat the first alien campaign chapter, mess around in the endgame content, and that's about it. It did take me a long time to do though, because the game is genuinely hard and does have a stamina system, which means you can't grind it all out on day one. Either way, when I uninstalled the game, it wasn't because I thought it was boring and not because I thought it wasn't worth my time, but because I was genuinely satisfied with everything I've done and don't really see myself doing much else. It's like when you play Minecraft for 2 weeks and then go away for a couple of months, then go back for 2 weeks again. You didn't stop playing after 2 weeks because you don't like the game anymore, but because you probably already accomplished everything you wanted and just saw fit to move on to other stuff. It's also like how I go back to Dying Light every once in a while, start a new game plus, and finish the game and its DLC one more time. When I quit these games, I didn't really quit them because I don't like them, I quit them because I've seen enough and I was satisfied. I was fulfilled, eager to go back if I ever wanted to. It's just like when, in his video, Fleur mentioned that he quit the game because he finished everything he wanted to, and saw fit to move on because there was nothing else he wanted to do. He quit while satisfied and left feeling fulfilled with a high opinion of the game that leads him to recommend it to everyone who asks about it. Meanwhile, if you ask me about Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact, and by extension because it's a Hoyo game Zoneless Zone Zero, I would tell you to fully avoid them if you're anything more than a very casual player who just wants to relax at the end of the day. If you're any sort of completionist, endgame grinder, or farmer, I would tell you to completely avoid any of these Hoyo games and instead play something like Ark Knights or Battle Cats, because I quit these Hoyo games with a very unsatisfied and disappointed heart. So, why are Battle Cats and Ark Knights so good? What quality or qualities do they have over other games that make them fulfilling and actually worth your time? Now obviously, when talking about simple quality or how good the game looks, feels, and runs, Genshin and Star Rail are very obviously going to rank very highly because they are developed with a lot of budget. A lot of that budget is spent on art, optimization, and voice acting, even though I would love for them to allocate it to actually fixing the games, but I digress. When a game like Wuthering Waves first came out, it lacked a lot of that optimization and voice acting quality that so many players got used to when playing Genshin, and even now other games like Punishing Grey Raven and Honkai Impact 3rd look like they are very dated because they are developed with way less initial budget and thus just lack a lot of gameplay, visual, and auditory quality. However, this really doesn't matter when talking about how fulfilling a game is. Ark Knights, as we know by Fleur's video, is a much more fulfilling game than Genshin or Star Rail for so many reasons. Not only does Ark Knights have a much more expansive endgame system than a game like Genshin, but it also has way more chase goals like a proper achievement system, and way more challenging modes than Star Rail that don't have any HP inflation or power creep at all, while Ark Knights was out for more than double the time Star Rail has. In the end, this means that Ark Knights endgame is a lot more fun. It also has many events that keep you playing every day. Meanwhile, in a game like Battle Cats, it's basically the perfect mobile game because you never run out of stuff to do, and that stuff is always going to be fun if you enjoy this genre of game, and there's always a level that matches your account level that you will be able to beat. I never felt like I was forced to spend only to farm more and more, which is not only fun but appropriate because of the type of game that it is. I never felt stuck or like I was lacking something severe. Long story short, as I said earlier, there was always fun to be had. It's just a matter of time before there's nothing else you really want to do on your account, whether it's Ark Knights or Battle Cats, and thus you just want to quit the game feeling fulfilled. However, endgame content isn't really the only factor it comes to fulfillment in a gacha game, because endgame content isn't the only type of content available. Story content and characters are also a big selling point for basically every competent gacha game, and who the target audience for the game is also matters a lot. While Battle Cats' story is basically non-existent, and while its character design isn't something to get too attached to, except if you're a big fan of Sexy Lex Cat or Mom Cat, the gameplay makes up for it because it is everything the game is. If it's not the type of game you're after, it's not going to be fulfilling whatsoever, because you'll probably uninstall 5 seconds into the gameplay. So I understand why a lot of people wouldn't play Battle Cats. It's simply the perfect example of a mobile game or arcade game, nothing more, nothing less. However, Ark Knights definitely hits a much wider audience with its mix of gameplay, story, character design, and also absolutely insane looking cutscenes. Side note, Ark Knights, and in the future and by extension, Ark Knights Enfield, most definitely have the best cutscene animations in the gacha business, and if you disagree, you're just wrong, I'm sorry. OG Ark Knights' gameplay animations are not their biggest selling point, considering the gameplay is chibi tower defense, but Enfield is already fixing that. Ark Knights also is a perfect example of a gacha game you can get attached to, but there's also a lot more to get attached to than Battle Cats, having a just as great if not even better gameplay experience than Battle Cats, with the added benefits of a real story to tell with characters you can actually get attached to. Now when talking about the perfect mobile game, you can argue a case for Star Rail and Genshin to also be basically perfect mobile games, but any player interested in endgame content is going to face a lot of issues in Star Rail if they miss just 1 or 2 units and end up not being able to clear the content they want, and is also going to struggle having fun in Genshin considering its endgame content is some of the worst I've ever seen. A story-driven player may be interested in the lore in both games, but the storytelling in both games is very much hit or miss, and they're definitely insanely large for mobile games unless you have an iPhone Pro Max model, which most people don't. But I digress again, this is about fulfillment and not necessarily how good these games are as mobile games. Let's get back on topic. Specifically, let's talk a little more about characters you get attached to. To feel like your account is complete and thus to feel fulfilled with the game you're playing is by having all of your favorite characters, which definitely ties in a lot to power creep. In a game like Ark Knights, it's very easy to get all of your favorite characters not only because of the generosity of the devs, but also because of the very obvious lack of power creep we've talked about several times already, and also because most units go to the standard banner anyway. You won't feel forced to pull for anybody, and unless you like every single character, you will definitely have enough pulls for most, if not all, of your favorite units. And a game like Star Rail, even though the devs are way more generous than other Hoyo games, people do mention struggling to pull both their favorite units and keep up with the rampant power creep, which makes it harder to be fulfilled. In a game like Genshin, even though character releases are much slower in comparison to Star Rail, there is still barely enough primo gems to actually pull most of your favorite units, especially if they pull a bullshit Mavuika Sitlali banner again. It's very important to provide enough F2P resources without making these resources feel useless, which is something both Star Rail and Genshin are very guilty of. The last thing I want to mention is artifact systems. Artifact systems suck. Artifact systems are never fulfilling. They're a constant grind that is designed to keep you addicted. Fuck artifact systems wholeheartedly. Guaranteed farming systems only, everything else sucks. Ark Knights and Battle Cats don't have relic farming systems. Hooray to Ark Knights and Battle Cats. The final thing I want to talk about in this video is that the gacha business model is definitely very anti-fulfillment, which is why I think barely any gacha game actually qualifies for being fulfilling like Battle Cats and Ark Knights do. If you end up quitting after feeling like your time with the game is complete, other than recommendations, the game is obviously not going to make any more money off of you. Developers that are focused on simply making money like Hoyoverse are obviously not going to go the route of, let's make the players feel fulfilled so they recommend us to their friends and call us a great game they look back fondly on. They instead are going to go the route of, let's drain this motherfucker of everything he's got. I also think it's not a prerequisite to being a successful game, as I mentioned earlier. I wouldn't really call Wuthering Waves fulfilling, despite still thinking it's a very great game. It still hasn't had enough time to show us everything the game has actually got, in terms of story and character design, because it's still so young. And 2, it has echo farming. Echo farming. I wouldn't consider a 7-year-old game like Dragon Ball Legends a fulfilling game at all either, because it's a PvP-focused gacha game which is always bound to be and also has no actual hard pity system at all with garbage rates, which means it's very hard to get a complete account. Still, both of them are very successful games, they're just not fulfilling. Also, I'm sorry if this video just comes out as Ark Knights and Battle Cats glaze, I didn't mean to do that, they're just the only perfect examples of a fulfilling gacha game I've found. I actually have never played Ark Knights because it's region locked, and I haven't figured out how to pipe past that. I'm just going off of what my friend Fleur has been saying, and he's got pretty based gacha takes, so I trust him. But I have played Battle Cats as I said, and I re-downloaded it to play it again, as I said, and it's just as fun as I remember. You should definitely try it out, especially because they're having anniversary celebrations which are lasting for around 3 or 4 more days. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Enjoy the Express Train Discord server for a fun and lovely community to hang out with, and for pictures of my cats. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.